Good evening and welcome to the explosive weekend debate. I'm Grihaltul. The Parliament will meet to revisit a 150-year-old hymn that once echoed through India's freedom struggle and continues to stir questions about identity, history and inclusion. Composed in the 1870s by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay and first published in 1882 as part of his novel Anand Mat, the poem Vande Mataram became a rallying cry for anti-colonial resistance. By the early 20th century, it had been adopted across provinces, and by 1905, the Indian National Congress declared it their emblematic patriotic hymn. But in 1937, a pivotal decision was taken. The Congress Working Committee resolved that only the first two stanzas of the song, which invoke the motherland in largely secular poetic imagery, should be used at public gatherings. The later stanzas, which refer to Hindu goddesses' imagery, were excluded to address objections from sections of India's population who felt such religious symbolism did not reflect their beliefs. Since then, Vande Mataram has remained India's national song, accorded official status by the Constituent Assembly of India on 24th January 1950 alongside the national anthem. As India marks the 150-year anniversary of the song's composition, proponents argue the original full hymn needs restoration, saying the truncated version dilutes its historic and emotional power. Critics, however, in fact warn that reviving the verses with religious overtones risks alienating millions and undermining the plural secular ethos of modern India. So the question before us is simple, yet profound. Can a song with deep roots in India's struggle for freedom still serve as a unifying national symbol today, in a nation of many faiths, beliefs and identities? 150 years on, which Vande Mataram speaks for India?
वंदे मातरम के 150 वर्ष पूर्ण होने पर कल संसद में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का उद्बोधन भी सुनने को मिलेगा
कि मोदी सरकार की जो नीति रही है या परिचर्चा के माध्यम से वो सारी चीजों को संकीर्ण बना देते हैं।
Taking this across to my guests who are joining us on the broadcast, Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress Party, is with us. Also with us is Ravi Bhatt, a historian. Sanju Verma of the BJP is also going to be joining us in a short while from now. But Sujata, starting with you, very good evening to you. And Ravi, the direct accusation against the Congress Party that has come from the Prime Minister of the country very, very recently, and all this while the nation celebrates 150 years of the national song, Vande Mataram, is that to cut out only the first two stanzas and make it and accord it that status of national song was a sin that was committed by the Indian National Congress back then. And this is what sowed the seeds of partition. How does the Congress respond to that accusation?
Good evening, Griha, to my co-panelists and to your viewers. The fact of the matter here is that this completes 150 years of its publication. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee had written it, and this book, Anand Mat, on which a black and white film with Geeta Baliji was made later on, and it was a beautiful film. And you know, there were just three stanzas. And what the Prime Minister today is doing, trying to demean everybody, demean history by the decisions that were taken so many years back. But having said that, let us wait for the hate, because the Prime Minister is the best at it. But in 1905, when the Britishers were trying to partition Bengal, this song had become a Jangeet. And that is why everybody was singing it. And when Bankim Chandra Chatterjee died in 1896, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore sang it, where at the Calcutta session of the Congress Party, when there was a person by the name of Sayani ji, Rahmatullah Sayani ji, who was the president of the Congress Party. And the decision which was taken by this committee was comprised of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who he will attack, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore himself, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, and Acharya Narendra Devaji, who hailed from Uttar Pradesh and used to take out a weekly in those times called Sangharsh and was a socialist. So clearly, things should be spoken about when we have a historical aspect to it. But in 1937, what did the RSS do? They were also existent at that time. Did they make any move? Did they talk about Vande Mataram? Did they pass any resolution? Because it was the Congress party. India wasn't free at that time. So clearly, what the Congress did at that time was to bring to the table a song which filled us with passion, which was a unifying force, which still is a unifying force. And you know what is most important is that when India gained freedom at that time, whether it was Vande Mataram or the book Anand Math itself, these two were banned by the Britishers, and this ban was lifted in 1947. And Dr. Rajendra Prasad also said that the national anthem and the national song would be at the same level. And we adopted it on 24 January 1950. I think Shyama Prasad Mukherjee was also part of the parliament at that time. And did he say anything about it? So if the ancestors of the BJP, whether it is the Jan Sangh or the RSS or the Hindu Mahasabha, they had nothing to say at that time. Atal Bihari Vajpayee had no bad words to say. I don't understand why the Prime Minister has to rake up this issue in a negative manner. This is a unifying force. And probably the politics of division played by the Britishers is what needs to be continued by Prime Minister Modi, and that is why he's saying this now.
Raviji, do you agree? Do you agree this is what is happening? Or do you think the claims that are being made by the Bharatiya Janata Party that why does a historic legacy of the country, like this very, very ancient and historic song that has been, and this poem that has been written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, why does it need sanitization?
Well, when it comes to the ideologies, I think as a historian, I don't endorse the ideology of any party, either party, but my statement will be only related to the history.
Yes.
See, when this song has already, the speaker before me, she has already told me that it was written way back in 1775, and the very amusing thing is by one version, then when Bankim Chand was traveling from Sialda to Narati, so he has written in the train this thing. And this song was written because Bankim Chand himself, he was a deputy collector, and he was one of the first graduates of the Calcutta University. And as we understand that the Calcutta West Bengal has been always politically very conscious state. So the intellectuals of the Bengal that time, they were very much, they were revolting against when Britishers, what they did is, they made it a point that in all public events, the God Save the King should be played. And this was, again, this hurt a lot to the Indian intellectuals as well as all the patriots. So Bankim Chand, being a deputy collector, was there. So he has written this song as a part of, as I already told by both of you and the other speaker, as a part of his book, which was published way back in 1880, after 7 years it was published. In 1882 it was published.
Yes.
So you can imagine the popularity of this song, when it was written, immediately this was, the music of this poem was composed by none other than the Jadunath Bhattacharya. And as you know, that any song will be popular for its lyrics as well as it is easy and sweet to sing. So the combination of this, that's a combination of Bankim Chand and the Jadunath Bhattacharyas, was that this has become so popular. It was on the lips of almost majority of the Indians, not only in Bengal, everywhere. And the beauty of this was that, I want you to notice that this was written in Sanskrit and Bangla. It was a mix of it.
Okay.
It was, but still it was very popular. And it was so popular that the Britishers were scared. And they banned not only the...
It was
Vande
popular
Mataram
across
song,
faiths, you're saying.
They banned
It
the
was
book
popular
itself.
across faiths?
The book itself.
Okay. Okay, the point that
Hello.
Sujata also made. Raviji, I'll come back to you. Sanju Verma is now with us on the broadcast. Sanju, thank you so much for joining us. The celebration of 150 years of the national song of the country, Vande Mataram, that legacy is going to be honoured. A special discussion in the parliament has been planned tomorrow. But is this a celebration really, or a fight that the song has not gotten its due? The authentic version of the song has not gotten its due.
First and foremost, Griha, my apologies for joining in late due to a technical glitch. But coming straight and diving headlong into the debate, I just want to say this. I think the next 2 days are going to be extremely important. You will have none other than the Prime Minister himself speaking on 150 years of Vande Mataram. You're going to see furious debates in both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. I just want to focus very quickly on a few things. A, Prime Minister Modi has repeatedly spoken about decolonizing minds. And I think he's walked the talk. Because remember, today you don't have 7 racecourse road. You have, 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. You don't get to now call it Raj Bhavan. You get to call it Lok Bhavan. You get to call the executive enclave of the PMO as Seva Tir. And you don't any longer call it Aurangzeb Road. You call it APJ Abdul Kalam Marg. It's no longer, Aurangabad. It's Sambhaji Nagar. We would rather call Hyderabad as Bhagyanagar. We would rather call Allahabad as Prayagraj. We would rather call Rajpath as Kartavya Path. And, people who say, oh, what's in a name? Naam mein itna kya rakha? Yadi naam mein kuch nahi rakha, why make this brouhaha and halabaloo about it? I just want to tell you that Nehru was an accidental Hindu? No. Nehru was Hindu-phobic. Remember the letter he wrote, Griha, in 1949 to the then Chief Minister of Faizabad, modern-day Uttar Pradesh, Govind Vallabh Pant. What did he say to Govind Vallabh Pant? He categorically admonished him, castigated him and said, the Ram Lalla idols kept outside in a tent in the premises of the Babri Masjid need to be removed. Otherwise, your head is on the axe in terms of you're going to face the sack. And when Govind Vallabh Pant said, I'm not able to follow your instructions to the T.
Sanju, but I'm still waiting for you to connect it to the Vande Mataram debate.
Yes. So I just want to say that out of the 6 stanzas today, how many stanzas are sung of Vande Mataram? We only sing 2 stanzas because why? This is, the letter written by Nehru to Subhash Chandra Bose, and I'm reading very quickly in 10 seconds.
Sure.
On the 20th of October 1937, what does he say? He says it does seem that this background, referring to Vande Mataram, it does seem that this background is likely to irritate the Muslims. He makes no bones about the fact that the stanzas that he removed from Vande Mataram were because he was brazenly following appeasement politics back then in 1937. And then he says, further, there's a difficulty of the language which is not understood by most people. I do not think it would be proper to go ahead with the other stanzas and annoy the Muslim community because these paragraphs are communalistically inclined. I don't know whether there's a word called communalistically, but that is what he's said. So I quoted him ad verbatim. The reason I gave you the Govind Vallabh Pant example, and I will just end by saying the other example I want to give is March and April 1951. He wrote letters to the then President Dr. Rajendra Prasad saying, do not attend the inauguration of the Somnath temple because it reeks of Hindu revivalism. It reeks of Hindu revivalism. This is a man...
Sanju, the argument against the novel that was written by Bankim Chand back then, also many critics had deemed it to be having communal overtones. There was a banning that happened from the British that was condemned, and 47 is when Vande Mataram was accorded, 50 was when it was accorded the national song's reverence. 1947, that entire ban was lifted when India attained freedom. Right now, the argument that is coming in from the opposition is that how can a national song or a national symbol be majoritarian and not respecting the other faiths?
I want to ask you a simple question, and your audience needs to listen to this. Before the BJP came to power in Tripura, how many people know this? Before Biplab Dev became the first chief minister from BJP for the first time in the longest time, dismantling the 25-year-old leftist rule. Do you know, on the floor of the Tripura assembly, singing Jana Gana Mana, our national anthem was banned? Who ensured that the national anthem is once again brought back in full glory on the floor of Tripura assembly? It's the Modi government. Do you know something? In 1947, there was a transition of power. In the presence of Lord Mountbatten, the Sengol was handed over to Nehru in the presence of Mountbatten and Rajaji, C. Rajagopalachari, who was then the Home Minister. For the longest time, the Sengol was placed in an obscure museum in Allahabad. It was in 2022-23 that the Modi government brought it and placed it next to the chair of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, ensuring that the Sengol gets its rightful place.
All right. So Sujata, let me get in a word from Sujata now. Sanju, Sujata, the argument remains, and it is being made by the Bharatiya Janata Party, that there has been a serial betrayal on part of the Congress party against the nation, and it has been happening ever since, and that's why the stanzas, the remaining 3 stanzas of the song, were removed and not accorded the national song status. What do you and how do you respond to these claims of appeasement politics that Sanju is making and BJP has been making against the Congress?
The BJP can make any kind of claim, any kind of accusation, but the BJP needs to answer. No, there was an RSS in 1937. It was 12 years old. And did they pass any resolution to make Vande Mataram the national song? Did they, talk about the national song? Did they talk about Vande Mataram? They did not. And let me also talk about the length. Now, the problem with the BJP is they'll talk through their hat. A national song cannot be 10 minutes long. The longest one belongs to Uruguay, which is 6 minutes long, and it's obviously cumbersome. But there are most national anthems which are 1 minute.
But that was not the argument at that time, Sujata. That was not the argument.
No. Now don't interrupt me.
No. I'm just saying that the removal of the stanzas, this was not the argument for the removal of this one. Yeah, please go ahead.
I am coming to that. The Congress Working Committee had Sarojini Naidu, Mahatma Gandhi, amongst a lot of other leaders who fought for the country's independence. And like I told you, the committee which was formed to decide how much of the song was to be adopted was made of 5 people, which included Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and also, like I told you, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. In addition to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad and Acharya Narendra Deva. But what I'm telling you is that if you check out the song from the film Anand Math also, which had 3 stanzas, they've also limited themselves to 3 stanzas. They could have sung the 6 stanzas, right? Why? Because it took 3 minutes, 20 seconds for it to get completed. So do you expect the national song to have been that long? And Dr. Rajendra Prasad made it clear after we attained freedom that the national song would have the same place as the national anthem. But I just, heard the BJP spokesperson talking about the Lok Bhavan. So you really do mean now that there will be no Lokpal because the person who sits in the Lok Bhavan...
That will digress the debate. Ravi Bhatt, I would want I want you to tell us, when did the first objection towards singing of Vande Mataram really begin, as far as Indian history is concerned? Who were the people who first raised the objection from the Muslim community, and what was the objection really all about? When they say it risks alienation of a particular community because of its monotheistic beliefs, how much of that argument is still relevant at the moment? And this debate that happens tomorrow, what do you make of this debate, and what will ensue in the parliament?
See, to be specific, they were the radicals or extremists from the Muslim community. They were simply murmuring. But the real voice was the 25th session of the Muslim League. It was a Muslim. They have passed a resolution. Jinnah was the person who was, Muslim League, led by Jinnah. That time they decided they will oppose it.
Okay.
The 25th session of the Muslim League, number 1. The number two, I'll like to tell you here one thing which we forget very easily, that I'm talking about history. In India, Hindu and Muslim, when it comes to the rulers and their interests, they were the loggerhead right from the beginning, right from the, that's 1192, starting from the Ghorid and the Babar had come in, everyone. But the masses at the ground level, they were not as much against each other, and they were not adopting culture. It's not very uncommon even today to find that people will say, "Arey bhai, Allah ka karam hai."
So you are saying it was political back then also. It was political back then also, you are saying.
No, I want to say even that time when it was opposed by the Muslim extremists, that time also the general Muslim was absolutely not against it.
Okay.
But people, because even you sing some song, Bhagwan, Ishwar, God, man, you sing in one go. You don't go by the vocabulary, what is that thing? You go to the essence of the song. So that was the reason. Had the Muslim being against it, it would have not been very popular. It would have not touched the heart of the masses.
So why was it decided to truncate the song?
That was the reason, that because of the parochial feelings, because of the narrow-mindedness of the Muslim League and the Jinnah, because it was not serving their purpose. The more they become radical, the more the demand for the Pakistan was gathering. They were trying to imbibe in the mind of the Muslims that we need a separate land for us.
Okay.
So for that they have used Muslim League and Jinnah used it as a tool.
Sanju Verma, go ahead, make your point.
Griha, I just want to very quickly say one thing. 31st October for the longest time was remembered as the death anniversary of Indira Gandhi. Nobody remembered 31st October as the birth anniversary of Sardar Patel, the Iron Man of India. It happened after Narendra Modi took over. 23rd January, now celebrated as Parikrama Divas to honor the legacy of Netaji Bose. It did not happen under Congress. 15th November celebrated to honor the legacy of Bhagwan Birsa Munda. Never happened under the Congress, but is happening today. We are celebrating Bhagwan Birsa Munda.
No, but you're talking about selective reading of history.
So I am
but
talking about...
Okay.
Griha, can I just finish?
Sure.
My simple submission is this. I did not heckle you. Please wait for your turn.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking
Sujata, I'll come to you.
Please, Sujata, don't get so irritated.
Sanju ji, please continue. Continue, please.
These guys keep losing elections and start showing their bravado on TV.
Sanju, please do make your point.
Yes. So, Griha, my limited point is this. It's not just about Vande Mataram. It is about decolonizing our colonized minds, which is what Prime Minister Modi is talking about. And I will just end by saying one thing. We have 115 acres dedicated to the Smaraks of Indira Gandhi, Nehru and Rajiv Gandhi. We do not even have Do Bhigga Zameen dedicated to honor the legacy of Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar. But a 600 feet statue is coming up at Dadar, thanks to Narendra Modi and Devendra Fadnavis to honor the legacy of the man who actually made the Samvidhan possible.
Okay.
Where are you?
This is not about Vande Mataram alone. This is about...
Okay, Sujata, your response. Sujata, your response.
Yeah. So it is very clear that there is going to be selective reading of history. And in 1905, when the partition of Bengal was being, orchestrated by the Britishers, this had become a very big song. Like I said, it had become a Jangeer. And as far as the length of the song is concerned, let us make no mistake, at that time, this song was being sung by everybody. It was being sung in that particular place. And are you going to try and attack Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, who was part of that particular committee which decided on how many...
Sujata, you're going on about how this distortion or sanitization is about the length. It is not about religious inclusivity. And that is what beats me. Is that how the debate in the parliament is going to ensue from the opposition side? I'm really sorry. We'd have to leave it at that. Sanju, Sujata, Ravi ji, thank you so much for joining us. We cannot make it into a shouting match. Let's see what happens in the parliament tomorrow. To adopt only the first two stanzas, whether it was a betrayal or a responsible adaptation, is up for debate. The trade-off really was real, because while it preserved Vande Mataram's broad appeal while avoiding alienation of minorities, some symbolic richness of that entire verse was lost. But considering the goal was to forge a common national identity that could bind millions across faiths, perhaps that compromise was necessary. But how many takers does this view really find? We'll know tomorrow.